Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm working here with Nicolo Negro, which he's a PhD candidate from the Monash University Cognition and Philosophy Lab. So first of all, I want to say that we are philosophers. We are not neuroscientists or computer scientists or physicists. So our mathematical approach is very, very rudimentary, but at the same time, I think it could make some contribution. Our main subject area is the metaphysics of consciousness. Okay, questions like what is causation, what is consciousness causally powerful, and so forth. And we are here because we believe that empirical evidence and mathematical formalization can contribute to progress in these metaphysical areas. And metaphysics also can contribute to the science of consciousness because it's implicated in the science of consciousness. And we are assuming here familiarity with the IIT framework, which is our main target framework, okay? So the context, and I will be I'm going very fast these first slides. Consciousness is an intrinsic, according to IIT. In the following, all will be according to IIT, okay? So consciousness is an intrinsic structure, specific, unitary, and definite cause-effect structure that a system of mechanisms specify in its current state. And this structure is composed of several causal distinctions and relations that the mechanisms of the system specify irreducible, okay? So we have the system of mechanisms, which is the complex in a present state of activation, which specify the cause-effect structure, which is the unfolding of the irreducible composition of causal powers and relations that the mechanisms of the system specify in relation to the possible past and future states of the system, okay? We have the big phi, which is the current overall level of consciousness, and we have these different cause-effect repertoires, which are the atoms of the cause-effect structure, okay? And these cause-effect repertoires are irreducible causal distinctions that the subset of mechanisms within the system specify, which will correspond to the phenomenal qualities that compose the experience, okay? So for instance, the first cause-effect repertoire will be the quality of seeing red, and the next cause-effect repertoire will be the quality of hearing some sound, and next the quality of some hot sensation, and so on. And importantly, these are defined in terms of irreducible cause and effect repertoires, okay? They are defined in relation to the potential past states of the system and the potential future states of the system. And each one has a small phi, which is the level of each phenomenal quality within the experience, okay? And the problem we are addressing is an inconsistency within the IIT framework, which could be understood as the causal powerlessness of consciousness, okay, also. So it is an inconsistency between three main claims. The claim one is the identity of consciousness, which will be identical to the cause-effect structure, not to the physical system of mechanisms, okay? Here are some quotes. On the other hand, we have the claim two, which is that consciousness is powerful. Consciousness, the cause-effect structure, exists and is causally powerful. It must be causally powerful. It must make a causal difference to the behavior of the system. Otherwise, it won't exist. Otherwise, it will be an illusory epiphenomenon. So Tononi says consciousness exists beyond any doubt, but for something to exist in a physical sense, it must make a difference to something, okay? And the cause-effect structure exists in a physical sense. Both Tononi and Koch says the cause-effect structure is physical. It's not an abstract object. It's not a mathematical object. It is physical, okay? So it must make a difference to something, a causal difference. But the problem is that at the same time, within the IIT framework, one finds that all the causal power of the system resides in its in its mechanisms. Yeah, all the behavior of the system is completely determined. It's completely caused by the state of the mechanisms and how the mechanisms are connected to each other. Okay. Indeed, we can find things like this. Any experience is identical to the irreducible causal interaction of the physical mechanisms that make the substrate, or the structure expresses the irreducible causes and effects of every mechanism of the system. So we have the mechanisms of the system, and these mechanisms have irreducible causal power, and the unfolding of this irreducible causal power of the mechanisms is the cause-effect structure. We find also in Koch, Searle argued that the causal powers of the brain give rise to consciousness. And he says that IAT is fully compatible with this intuition and explains it. The repertoire that makes the structure specifies in full the cause-effect power of a mechanism within the system, okay? So we have that the consciousness must be causally powerful in itself for it to exist, because the cause-effect structure, which is identical to consciousness, is physical. And for something to exist physically, it must have causal power. It must make a causal difference to something. And at the same time, in the IAT framework, all causation, all causal power, all the causal explanations are could be understood in terms of the mechanisms and their mechanical properties, the state of the mechanisms, how the mechanisms are connected to each other, and the response functions of the mechanisms, if the mechanism works as an AND gate or as an OR gate, and so forth. So our proposal is that here we try to show how the structure itself, which will be identical to consciousness, could make a causal difference regarding the next state of the system, okay? Which will have the implication that only part of the total causal power of the system resides in its mechanisms. And we propose this in two steps. First, we should understand the metaphysics of causation in IAT as according to the causal powers view of causation, okay? Which will be the missing ontological partner to IAT's epistemic approach to causation. So interventionism and counterfactuals and so forth should be understood as epistemic approaches to causation, but they don't tell us what causation is. And a sketch of a vector model of, you want, a toy model of how the cause-effect structure, consciousness, could contribute to the next state of activation of the system, could contribute to the determination of the next state. And importantly, the causal interaction between phenomenal qualities will result in the most probable future state of the system, okay? I will skip this. So, causal powers. Recall that I think I will be more fast. Our approach is based on Manford and Anjum's approach, which is more elaborated in their book, Getting Causes from Powers, and they say that causation occurs when powers exercise themselves, okay? Effects are brought about by powers manifesting themselves. And this will underlie all the interventionism approach and all the counterfactuals and probability raising and so forth, okay? And what is a causal power? It is the potential to produce an effect under specific circumstances. We don't have the time to discuss this idea in itself. But the important thing is that Manford and Anjum offers us a way of representing these interacting causal powers, okay? And here we have a simple example. In this case, the vector diagram represents the powers interacting on an object at a time. For example, when a stone hits a glass. F and G are two contrary qualities, possible qualities of the object. F would be the glass being broken, and G, the property of the glass being unbroken. And vector A and vector B represent the interacting powers with respect to F and G. A will be, for instance, the momentum of the stone, which disposes the glass to be broken, and B will be the hardness of the glass, which disposes or contributes the potential for the glass to remain unbroken, okay? And each one has a direction and intensity. And the resultant power, in this case, tends towards breaking because the power, the causal power of the momentum of the stone will be greater than the causal power of the hardness of the glass to resist being broken. So now we apply this to the cause effect structure of IIT, okay? So here we have the different cause effect repertoires. Each one will be identical to a phenomenal quality. And for instance, now we are going to focus on the future side of each of these qualities. For example, according to IIT, this quality ABC is defined in terms of certain probabilities that are assigned to different potential future states of the system. So this quality is defined as the one that contains probability 0, 0 for the future state of the system being 0, 0, 0, probability 0 for being 1, 0, 0, and so forth, okay? With an irreducibility of 0.5, okay? Here we have this notation simplified for these 4 qualities. We have omitted the 2 last ones. So we have the probabilities for each future state of the system in terms of which each phenomenal quality is defined. Okay, this is IIT. Now, from this, we are going to consider the probabilities in relation to future states of the system 110 and 001. And we are taking now quality ABC, and we are constructing the power vector, yeah, the causal power of this quality in relation to future states 110 and 001, which will be the strength with which the quality disposes the system to be in that state in the immediate future. And we suggest that it will be calculated as the product of the irreducibility of the quality, its phi measure, and the probability it assigns to that future state, okay? And then we do this to all these qualities, and we have these different power vectors for these different qualities. And then we plot it in this vector diagram, and we see that all these qualities that system ABC is specifying in its current state of activation, all these qualities are disposing the system towards state 001. So 0.3H, 0.13, 0.005, and so forth will be the measure, the intensity of each component phenomenal power, with which each quality disposes the system to change to state 001 in the immediate future. And also we have the resultant, which will be the total phenomenal power, with which the whole experience disposes the system to change to a state 001. Of course, this sum of these component phenomenal powers will be, plausibly, it will be a non-linear function. And we are here just using addition for ease of exposition. In sum, all phenomenal powers are disposing the system toward state 001, which is in fact the state to which it actually changes in the next state of activation, in the next time step. Sorry. So some conclusions. What is missing in IIT is the incorporation of the cause-effect structure, consciousness, as a causally powerful factor in itself in the behavior of the system, okay? And we have offered a toy model of the sketch of how the cause effect structure disposes the system towards certain state of activation in the immediate future, which endorses the causal powers view of causation and properties in general also. And we have shown how we can plot the interaction of these powers and how, in principle, we can calculate the resultant phenomenal power which disposes the system to what state in the immediate future. The model, of course, needs considerable development, but stands as a step forward in the direction of characterizing consciousness as a causally powerful phenomenon in itself, and not just as an epiphenomenal effect of mechanical interactions. So thank you very much. If you want to collaborate, especially in the mathematical aspects, please contact us. Thank you.